Hello, my name's Jack Howard, and this week on the Screen Test, we're talking about sitcoms.
Whoa, no one watches Seinfeld anymore.
Friends, they just took Seinfeld and they put more attractive people in it.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like you said back then, it was different. It was different, but some people were being progressive and some weren't.
Come on, start the fire. I want a bit of friction. With me, as always, is Chief Film Critic at The Independent, Clarisse Loughrey. We have 1/3 of the Cyber Nerds, Joe Ikhinwin, and this week we're joined by actor, comedian, YouTuber, and member of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, or MBE for short, Humza Ashard. Hey. Hello, everybody. This week, I thought we could talk about sitcoms because I'm a huge fan of the genre. And recently, I've been binging some of the great ones on Prime Video, like The American Office, New Girl, Parks and Rec. And I'm really interested to know what some of your favourites are and why. And Humza, since you're the guest, I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I had to choose Friends. I think that growing up, it was just something that I would go to if I'm sad or feeling down or just wanted to smile. And yeah, I think the beauty with Friends is you could watch any episode from any season and just watch it and be able to relate to the characters and yeah, have a laugh. For it to be made from, like, I think it was like 1994 was the first season, but it's still being relevant today and people still watch it today, and they're still making so much money from it. It just kind of shows how powerful that era was and how it's still living on till today.
Well,
Joe, it looks like you've got something to say to that.
Well, if you want to talk about relevance today and still being probably one of the littest people on the planet, Will Smith in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was it. And it's also still on television today. You can also watch any episode and just know exactly what's going on, because I feel like that's what the best sitcoms do. And that's why I picked The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Clarisse.
I mean, also true of Seinfeld that you can watch any episode. So yeah, I chose Seinfeld for very personal reasons because, as people may be able to tell from my accent, I am American.
What? You?
I thought you were Pakistani.
and like I get that I'm kind of coming in on a losing level here because Seinfeld was not the phenomenon here that it was in the US, but like growing up it was part of our family. I
always remember hearing that Seinfeld kind of invented the modern day sitcom. And I was
correct.
Right.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. That's what they say. But I agree. It's like one of the things that just never was part of my life at all here. It was not really something that people knew about.
Well, I think I can get into this later on, but part of it is the specificity of that world and those characters. Like, they are New Yorkers like that. I mean, Friends, yeah, technically they're living in New York, but the way that they act,
shot
and the
in
way
LA.
they interact with each other, yeah. Well, I think Seinfeld might have been as well, but yeah, like that was more of a universal thing. The whole point of Friends was like, let's take Seinfeld and make it, more universally appealing.
Right, so we have three huge American sitcoms going up against each other. Seinfeld versus Friends versus The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Just to reiterate, this is how it's going to work. We're going to go through a series of rounds, and if you win the round, you get 3 points, and if you lose the round, you get 1 point, and surprise, surprise, if you come second, you get 2 points. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right, the first round is the IMDB rating. It's my least favourite one because I don't get a say. This is one where I don't get to choose. This is the people's vote. So what do you think is going to have the highest rating on IMDB, and what do you think is going to have the lowest rating? Clarisse, start with you.
I don't know. I'm kind of torn because obviously, yeah, all three of them are incredibly popular and also critically beloved. So I'm going to go with my gut and say I'm gonna go Seinfeld. I'm gonna go on a limb and say Seinfeld because I think the people who love Seinfeld really love Seinfeld and would come in with like the 10s.
And it feels a little bit like Friends could be the one where people are like, no, I'm gonna take Friends down.
Yeah, because to be mildly controversial, I don't think all of Friends is good.
It's not.
Oh,
Yeah,
we're getting into
Come
it.
on, guys.
It's
Like-
not. Hey.
Tell
Look,
the truth, man.
Come on, start the
Friends-
fire. I want a bit of friction.
Friends is the
We're all
show
being too nice.
that you put on in the background while you're doing something else.
And Seinfeld, you never put it on ever, so there's a difference.
Yes.
Humza, what do you
joking.
think the ratings are going to be?
Now, to be honest, like I just feel that when it comes to a universally like beloved show, I feel that you can't mess with Friends. And don't get it twisted. I mean, I think Seinfeld for that era, people love it. For me, I don't have friends who be like, oh, let's put some Seinfeld on. Like no one says that anymore.
Get better friends.
Yeah, well, I think both of them will be offended with that.
I'm kidding.
So you think Friends is going to have the top IMDb rating then?
I wouldn't be surprised if Seinfeld is on top. I don't think Fresh Prince is, even though I prefer Fresh Prince to Seinfeld. So I wouldn't be surprised. But for me, I still feel that, because Friends is better, I think.
Joe, what do you think the ratings are going to be? What order do you reckon it's going to take place?
Seinfeld's probably going to be first, 100%, just because of when it came out and like the people who probably voted on it at the time just voted on it, and everyone who hated it just left it alone.
Where do you think Fresh Prince is going to land?
I think Fresh Prince is going to be last. I think Friends is going to be second because it lasted so long. It is a great show, but I just feel like Fresh Prince, everyone has seen it and loves it, but it just can't be higher than Friends if we was just talking about people rating it.
I don't know, because I feel like I know people who actively dislike Friends. I don't know anyone who would ever say a bad word against Fresh Prince.
Well, there's only one way to find out. Here we go. I'm going to start with Fresh Prince, I think. Since we're all pretty confident it's going to land sort of around the bottom, let's start with that because I feel like it is probably going to be a Friends and Seinfeld battle. Alexa, tell me the IMDb rating for The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's IMDb rating is 7.9 out of 10.
7.9.
That's pretty good.
That's respectable.
Yeah, but it's not going to
Fresh
win.
Prince, there should be more in it.
Should be.
Yeah.
Alexa, tell me the IMDb rating for Seinfeld.
Seinfeld has an IMDb rating of 8.8 out of 10.
Oh, yeah, that's a significant jump.
Right,
8.8.
beat that, Friends.
All right. Do you think Friends can
Friends
beat
ain't beating
8.8?
No way.
Alexa,
I don't think so.
tell me the IMDb rating for Friends.
The IMDb rating of Friends is 8.9 out of 10.
Whoa, no one watches Seinfeld anymore.
For people just listening to the podcast,
I said it. I was being respectful.
Humza did an incredible dance.
It was beautiful. I practiced it a lot, many years.
So that means that in the starting round, Friends has 3 points, Seinfeld has 2 points, and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air has 1 point. So that's what we have going forward. And round 2 is cast. So let's get into it. Humza, let's start with Friends. Let's talk about the cast here. What makes them stand out? What makes this show better because of who was cast in it?
I think this one's kind of like, it's quite easy because, I mean, obviously Seinfeld, you have whatever his name is, and then you have Will Smith.
Seinfeld.
That's the one. Yeah. So, like, I think Seinfeld and Will Smith are the stars of their shows, and obviously they are absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to throw in now. Yeah. I don't like Jerry Seinfeld.
Maybe not as
a
person.
No one finds
person.
Jerry Seinfeld funnier than Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah, but that's part of
but,
that's like part of it, though.
Yeah, but he is still, as a comedy great. Whether you like him or dislike him, he's up there with all the legends. Whereas, but the difference is, and as I said, the other supporting cast are amazing. But Friends had 6 cast members, all main actors, all pretty much had an equal share of TV time. And I think Ross said something like, it's your
Ross the character,
the character. I'm going to call him Ross, not David Schwimmer because
okay.
he's Ross to me.
Okay.
But he said basically it's very hard to
me,
find.
he's the giraffe from Madagascar.
Yeah, and that as well. Yeah. But he said something like, it's you'll be lucky if you find someone on set that has the same chemistry and you get along on and off of camera, but to have that with 6 members all together was was brilliant, and I think that every single one of them brought something to the table. And you had 6 amazing characters, and they're all different, but funny. You had Chandler, who was like the sarcastic one. You had the Phoebe, who was a little bit weird, and then you have Monica, who was like kind of like the
They all
control
do
freak.
feel a little bit like the template, don't they? For like, if you want to, it's the sort of conversation you have with your friends and go, "Who's who?" And
exactly.
So it's that sort of conversation.
Yeah. So that's why I just, in terms of cast, Friends is what made them, and they have gone on and they've, they are worldwide recognized. I just think that was the beauty of it. It wasn't just on one person. It was, a whole cast, 6 actors that were just brilliant in their own ways and had just something special about them. And that's why I think Friends is, in terms of cast, it was easily the best.
I mean, I think that's great, but I think that's a lot easier to do when you've got 6 people who are around the same age. But in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, it takes a father figure, mother figure, multiple kids, people of all different ages, and blends them together. Will Smith is definitely the star, but I feel like where he's come from a music background, this is his first venture into acting. He shines, and then this show then launches off his career, which is continuing today, and he's still like the biggest star of anyone in any of the shows we're talking about today off the back of this show.
Who's your favourite Aunt Viv?
I don't know if I'm actually allowed to answer that question.
No, you can.
Oh, why? What happened?
I don't know. It's a bit mad. Like, there's 2 sides. There's 2 sides of the coin, but I'll go with Janet Hubert.
Oh, right. Okay. Why?
I just like her better in a role. I just felt like she did it like you started with her, and you know what I'm saying. It's a bit weird.
Yeah.
You switch it up.
Do you have a favourite character in The Fresh Prince?
My favourite character is probably Will, because I feel like I identify most with him. But Carlton is everyone's favourite character. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so I just don't know how you can't love him. Like,
I don't know. I really like Uncle Phil.
Uncle Phil, listen, this is what's hard, and this is what was crazy to me when I was hearing Humza talk about Friends and how all likable they are. Like, this whole family is great. You identify with someone in the family, no matter how old or young you are, and regardless of your race or anything like that. So I feel like this is one of the best family dynamics I've ever seen in a sitcom, if not the best.
Clarisse?
Well, I guess Seinfeld's kind of the opposite, because it's about how unlikable they are, but how much you still like them despite them being so unlikable. And I kind of disagree about the idea that this is just like the Jerry Seinfeld show, because it really is about the dynamic of those 4 friends. And Seinfeld was sort of revolutionary in the way that most sitcoms before just had an A plot and a B plot, but here there was always a concerted effort to make sure that every character had their own storyline and that it would always converge at the end of the episode, or maybe converge in a later episode. And so, yeah, and I think what's interesting is that it's easiest to compare it directly to Friends, and Friends we were talking about, oh, it's like the templates, and it's like, are you Monica or are you Phoebe or da-da-da-da? And I feel like that to me is less interesting than Seinfeld, because it's like Hogwarts houses. Like, Phoebe's the weird one, Monica's the tidy one. But with Seinfeld, it's like they each have incredibly distinct personalities, and you could describe them all. But they're not templates, they're real people, and it's really logical why these 4 people would be friends, because they're all kind of awful in the same way, but
I would have to disagree, because I mean, I just feel like, because Friends is so popular and it's so mainstream, I think that there's that cult where people just say, oh no, it's very basic, it's very, the templates. There weren't, I don't think there were templates whatsoever. I think that the characters, they were so relatable, and it was representing young people going out, leaving their homes, and experiencing relationships, love, death, adoption, marriage, if I haven't said that already, and just friendship. And there was just so many things that young people even today can relate to. And I feel that people don't give the credit of the cast and the characters, and they feel that they're templates, but they're not. They were actually people have grown to love these characters. They love Phoebe. They love everything about her.
Just to sort of play devil's advocate for a second. And I'm interested to know how other people feel about their shows actually about this, because I think this is really interesting, is that I think that Friends, as it goes on, the cast become a little bit more caricature-y and a little bit more simplistic and one note, and that happens quite a lot with shows where you kind of know how a character is going to react before they do, and that sometimes is very, very funny, and can make you relate to them more or make them more endearing. But I think that Friends is a culprit of like Joey becomes almost cartoonishly stupid. But does that happen, for example, in The Fresh Prince, and does that happen in Seinfeld? Do the characters become more simplistic as it goes on?
No, I mean, there was a moment when Larry David left the show and the situations became a little bit more absurd. But I don't think the characters themselves ever changed, because the thing with Seinfeld is that so much of it is rooted in truth. Like, the writers were always encouraged to bring their own experiences into it, and I'll get into that later. But that also meant that each of the actors had a really rooted understanding of what their character was. I mean, Jerry Seinfeld was just kind of playing himself. So that never became a caricature, because he was just like playing a version of himself. But I think you can see that as well with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, you know, the way that she plays Elaine Bennis. Like, I don't know, she like so became that character, and
she also might be the funniest woman on the planet.
Yeah, I was going to get to it on like a more of a personal level, because growing up with Seinfeld, Elaine was my first exposure to like a woman who was funny, and she was just kind of part of the guy group, and she was never sort of like pushed aside to be like, oh, you're the woman and you got to deal with the woman problem. She was always a part of it. She was funny and feminine and weird, and I think that had such a huge influence on my life. Like, I can't even begin to say, to have that sort of role model to look up to, even though she is a despicable person, just like the idea of that character, I guess. And I think it gave me the confidence to be like kind of weird and funny in my life, and not feel, I don't know, not feel like I was singling myself out by doing that it's normal.
I do think that the characters in Friends do become one note, but I think that's just, I just think that happens because you're going into 10 seasons. Like, it gets to the point where it's like, oh, what else are we gonna do? I let Joey say, "How you doing?" again. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not much. It's
always
more
funny.
he can do from there. And then I also feel like Friends like kind of assassinate some characters towards the end, like Joey. Like, he goes from being this loyal friend to like scheming on Rachel and the whole thing. And I feel like those last couple of seasons for me, I'm just like, I'm not in it. With the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I feel like some of the characters do evolve. Will's character goes from being a ladies' man early to, you know, looking into trying to get married and stuff like that. You see the evolution of Uncle Phil as a uncle, and then even into like a father that we're going to get into later, a father of Will that we're going to get into later on in the show. I mean, I feel like it's all there, especially like characters like Hillary as well.
Man, I say this quite a lot on this show, but it's so difficult to dish out the points because you've all given such great points. And also I agree that they're all brilliantly cast, and the shows would be so much different and wouldn't be nearly as iconic if it wasn't for these people that are playing it. I'm going to give Friends the top points because I think they were career making, and they are the template. So I'm going to give them 3 points, but I'm going to give the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air 2 points, but I'm going to give you a bonus point
for 2 Aunt Vivs.
For the 2 Aunt Vivs, yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping me out. And I'm going to give Clarisse the 1 point, but I'm going to give you 2 bonus points, Clarisse.
What's the point of this?
Jack's on the one.
I'm just completely bailing on this. I'm going to give you 2 bonus points for Julia Louis-Dreyfus and for just arguing it quite well for a show that I don't particularly know very well. And I think you're just arguing it very well. So at the moment, Friends in the lead with 6 points, and Seinfeld and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air are neck and neck with 4 points. And round 3, here we go. It's the memorable episode, and all of you have got long-running shows, but talk to me about the episode that for you stands out the most. And I'm going to start with Clarisse.
So I picked the contest, which I think a lot of people tend to name the best Seinfeld episode, because I think it's the best example of why the writing is so great. I kind of said it before that what was so different about Seinfeld is the idea that it was breaking the convention of this A plot and B plot, and maybe you'd have a running joke, and it created this, like, I don't know. I think the thing with Seinfeld is that people don't appreciate how intricate it is, because it seems so like silly, and it's just a bunch of people like complaining about stupid things like jeans and doorbells and things like that. But when you actually break down the scripts and you look at how the storylines converge, like, it's brilliant. It's like genius writing. The fact that with the contest, we start out with these 4 characters making a pact and then they all go on a separate adventure, and then that all just like perfectly converges and overlaps at the end, and the storylines end. And with Elaine has a storyline with John JFK Jr., and then he ends up going off with the woman that Jerry Seinfeld is dating, and they end up together, so those storylines converge. And it's just like,
I love when sitcoms
like a little maze.
allow their A, B, and C plots to all wrap up with each other, because I think there's a trend that's definitely started now with the culprit that comes to mind is like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where the storylines all just happen side by side. And some of the episodes of Brooklyn, don't get me wrong, I don't want to be known as somebody who doesn't like it. I think the first few seasons especially are very good. Yeah. But some of the writing in it is just like A plot, B plot, C plot, and then by the end they'll make up, and none of these storylines are related to each other. But then when I think about Arrested Development, which I think would be my favorite of the American sitcoms.
Heavily influenced by Seinfeld.
This is exactly what I was about to get to, is that like it feels like it's constantly tangling up its own webs and making it more and more ridiculous. And I love when that happens in sitcoms.
Yeah, and the other point I want to make in favor of the contest is that the contest in question is the bet of who can go the longest without masturbating. But in the 90s, that was like a little bit of a taboo subject to be talking about television. So they never actually say the word. And it's so ingenious the way that they get around it. It's all done through like people look at each other and saying, are you still the master of your domain? Like, I'm still the master of domain, the lord of my castle. And I think when Elaine falls, it's Jerry screams, the queen is dead. Like, it's so brilliant because they never have to say the word, but the whole way through the episode, you are absolutely.
But I think that's great as well. I think
happening.
There's a lost art sometimes in comedy where people just go, let's just say the thing, whereas actually dancing around the thing sometimes is funnier.
Yeah, and a lot of Seinfeld was doing that. It was sort of like finding all these like weird parts of our lives and creating these really intricate weird ways to interact with them in a way that felt really specific to those characters, but at the same time you as a person sitting at home could be like, oh yeah, I have had that problem when you're wearing a beautiful suede jacket and it's raining outside and you don't know what to do.
What about Friends? What's your favorite episode out of the whatever millionth seasons?
To be fair, there was just too many to choose from.
And
there were so many.
And you still cheated and picked 2 episodes.
Did I? No, I picked what? No, I picked the
wedding.
The wedding, yeah, the wedding. And I remember because I think that's when they went to London in season 4.
Yeah, but that's 2 episodes.
A 2 episode.
Oh,
Cheating.
okay.
And a season finale. You went for everything, didn't you?
I mean, special just is different, isn't it? Just too special. And like, I remember seeing that, and it was quite cool as well because obviously I'm a fan of the show, and they're in London as well. So like for me, it was just different. They went out somewhere else, and it was still funny and a lot of fun. And obviously, Ross and what's
not
it
Rachel.
They've had this thing throughout, all the seasons where
who's Ross about to get married to?
Emily.
Emily, that's it.
And
the most English sounding name they could have thought of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And her mum's Jennifer Saunders.
It was just it was one of my favorite episodes. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, I was a bit biased because they were in London, but it was so funny. And obviously, they had the whole thing with Monica and Chandler, which started off, and they started having this kind of like secret kind of relationship, which was really, really interesting. And then obviously, Ross at the end at the altar, and him actually saying Rachel's name instead of Emily. I remember when I saw that, I was like, he's finished. I was like, he's finished. That's the one thing you don't do at your own wedding. And,
Say the wrong name.
Yeah, and when I saw that, I was just like,
it is a pretty iconic moment.
It was crazy. So I
always thought it was a weird place that they were getting. Oh yeah, it's like a broken down church, isn't it? It's like a run down church. Like, see, I don't even. This is all just like coming back to me now because I've just obviously seen it on television so many different times. Joe, what have you gone for?
I've got, I think it's season 4, episode 14 on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's called Papa's Got a Brand New Excuse. It's the episode where his dad, his actual biological dad who left him 14 years ago, shows up one day at work and wants to rekindle his relationship with Will. They start getting together and hanging out.
Season 4, episode 24.
Oh, 24. My bad. Please don't dock any points.
No, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt for now, for trying.
Uncle Phil warns Will and says, don't do this. He's not that guy. He's going to let you down. Obviously, Will wants a relationship with his father, so he keeps on going. And by the end of the episodes, Dad's let him down. Will breaks down, and it's just a super emotional episode for me. Like, I love father-son moments in films and TV shows.
Yeah, we've talked about this before on the show, how much that stuff gets to you.
Yeah, it does. And the thing is, I don't even have this kind of relationship with my dad. I've got a very positive relationship with my dad. But I think it's crazy because it affects me just seeing Will Smith and a black young man at this time be vulnerable on television when black men are never portrayed like this. And
he's given the space to be able to do it as well. Like, Phil just lets him at the end just have a rant and express himself.
Yeah, and this episode's special because I feel like for a sitcom, it's funny. This episode is funny, it's sad, it's filled with love, it's filled with disappointment, and it just touches on every emotional spectrum that it's not supposed to, and it makes it all work. And I feel like this is definitely probably watching that, people were like, oh, this is where they knew that Will Smith could do more than just tell funny jokes and wear his jacket inside out.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to say, I feel like you have to give it to Fresh Prince for this, because like the ending of that episode,
the hog,
the way that it just ends, there's no resolution because it's him having this outpouring and it just ends, and there's no kind of like, I think there's usually outtakes of the credits, right? There's no outtakes. There's like a little bit of silence, and then like the theme like slowly awkwardly creeps back in, like, are you okay, everybody? And the fact that you can hear a woman crying at the end, because I think one of the actors was off stage like weeping because she was watching this incredible performance. Like as much as I want Seinfeld to win, like that episode really gets me.
I've made a lot of comedy myself, a lot of scripted comedy, and my favorite thing to do is to set up an audience so that they feel safe, and then you can get them when they least expect it, and you can make them emotional, and a lot of the time an audience isn't prepared for it and they've let their guard down. I think that's what this episode does so well. It makes you realize how much you care about these characters.
To be honest, I'll be real. Even when I was talking about the Friends episode, still in the back of my mind I was like, but I know what he's gonna choose, and I completely agree with him, because that end scene was very powerful, and I think that was the first time you really get to see Will Smith not just being really funny, but it just showed how why he's actually such a great actor, and I think it was a very powerful scene, and a lot of people can actually relate to that disappointment, especially when it comes to father and son relationships and stuff. Figures. So I think that I'll be honest with you, I think that's probably the best scene.
I mean,
Seinfeld should come second.
Nice try. I'm going to give Fresh Prince of Bel-Air top points, 3 points, and then I'm going to give Friends 2 points, and I'm going to give Seinfeld the final place. But because Clarisse started the trend of being so objective and taking herself out of it, and
she's
saying
done this before,
and giving it to the other show, I'm going to give a bonus point for that. So it's 3 points for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and 2 points apiece for Friends and Seinfeld, which means at the moment In the lead is Friends with 8 points, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with 7, and Seinfeld with 6. And Clarisse, I think you're right. If you were in America, this would be a different story. And also,
I can
if you're a
phone my
different
dad
person,
right now.
Yeah.
He'll chip in.
He's in the comments.
Yeah.
All right, the next round is craft. So here we can talk about any aspect of the creation of the show, whether or not it's about how it's filmed or directed, or the production design, the music, the theme song, anything about it that you want to point out that you think makes it above all the rest. And Humza, we're going to come to you first.
Yeah, no, I think one thing that I really liked was obviously the way they did the scripts. I think they had like 20 writers, and then obviously you had the improvisation from all the other cast members as well, which was great. And yeah, the production to a T. In terms of just. It was just the small things as well, just making it very natural, like the flats and the background stuff, and the theme song as well. I think it's just it was just so catchy.
I mean, that's a conversation to have. Which one do you think has got the best? Who's got the best theme song?
It's hard. I think if we're talking about theme songs, like this is just me being personal. I really like Fresh Prince. I
taught
think
the world how to rap.
Yeah.
It taught the whole world how to rap.
Yeah, I have to. As I said, I'm really honest,
like
and I really do think that Seinfeld and Fresh Prince are really, really good. But I just feel that Friends was just universally, it just had that something special that made it one of the greatest, if not the greatest, sitcom, and that's why I really appreciate it.
Joe, what do you think stands out?
It was hard for me to pick, but I went with like the initial concept of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. When you take into consideration like the time it happened, the initial idea was to have a lower class black guy join into a white upper class family, but they was like, this has been done a bit too many times, and if we change it to an upper class black family, we can touch on black prejudices, which never gets touched on ever, even today. And I feel like they was legitly in the future with that concept and delivered it in such a way that most people would be there just laughing and joking with Will, the guy wearing his jacket inside out, where there's other people like legitly learning how to be a family, learning real ethics and just life lessons from the show. And I felt like just them sitting down one day and deciding this is the direction we're gonna go, I thought is mind-blowing to me.
Clarisse.
Just want to shout out to Larry David. Just because
shout out to Larry David.
He's
I know you're watching.
So yeah, because I think Seinfeld, we tend to think of it as Seinfeld's baby because obviously it's his name, but it really is a collaboration between Seinfeld and Larry David. And I know that tends to get erased because Larry David obviously went on to do Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is basically Seinfeld again, but more awkward. But so much of the real genius of that show comes from Larry David. I mean, the idea that he had this rule, no hugging, no learning, because the entire idea of Seinfeld was, right, we're going to strike back against the sitcom conventions. And I think they did this mostly unconsciously because they didn't really watch TV, either of them. But, in the 70s and 80s, you had stuff like Cheers and Married with Children, where it was always like quite wholesome, nice people doing nice, wholesome things. And then they learned a lesson at the end and they all hugged and it was nice.
That still happens now. Like not
Exactly.
to keep bashing on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but that's literally like the end of every episode is like, I've learned my lesson. I'm sorry. You're a good friend. Cool. And it's just like, oh, I'm bored. I get bored of it so quickly.
And Larry David was like, no. How about we just get 4 bad people? They never ever learn their lesson. And the finale, they go to jail because of how bad they are. And yet the final episode is them, the final moments is them having a conversation about the placement of buttonholes on shirts, which is actually the conversation they have in the very first episode, first scene of Seinfeld. So it's the idea that it's this like perpetual loop because these people will never ever change. Yeah. And I think that it's what is so genius about that show, because you really have to be a great writer and a great thinker to create people like that audiences want to return to every single week and go, hey, I want to find out what these trash people are up to this week because I love it. And I love seeing them fail, and I love seeing them destroy other people's lives.
I'm just going to award points, I think, how I feel like you argued that round, actually. So I'm going to give Seinfeld top points, followed by The Fresh Prince, followed by Friends. So right now, as the points stand, Seinfeld and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Friends are all neck and neck with 9 points apiece. It's all to play for in the final round, which is cultural impact. How is it that your show changed the landscape of television forever? Convince me, Clarisse. We're starting with you since we just finished with you.
Okay, I'm going to say this straight up.
Go ahead.
Friends, this is what Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld have both said, and I think they're correct, that Friends, they just took Seinfeld and they put more attractive people in it.
But they say that because Seinfeld's like one of the first because it's so old, and then they always just say, yeah, we inspired you to do this, we inspired you to do that. That's what I think it is.
Because it did. And like it kind of goes back to what I said before. Like we were going from Cheers and Married with Children to suddenly Seinfeld pops up. And like every single sitcom where it's like, hey, we're a bunch of 20-year-olds living in the city and we're all friends and we're having weird jobs, and like here's our weird partners coming in, they're so weird, tee-hee-hee. Like that all comes from Seinfeld. So like you wouldn't have Friends, you wouldn't have New Girl, you wouldn't have just literally every sitcom ever. How I Met Your Mother. Like everything originates back to Seinfeld. Even if it like all these other shows aren't kind of announcing themselves as, hey, we're just Seinfeld in a different package. You think
they are just by default?
That, because that's where it all comes from. Like it all traces it back. You just follow the lines back and it goes to Seinfeld.
Doesn't make it the best. I mean, like...
But we're talking about cultural influence, though.
Yeah.
So this is the influence
you can be inspired, but there's like I said, like Seinfeld didn't even translate to another westernized country. Do you know what I'm saying? Like where our shows did. Like obviously Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's got an all black cast, but translated into the UK, like Jack said, he watches that. Like for me, that is transcending. That is breaking barriers. You know, it also it gave you a new way to look at black characters. They'd usually be portrayed as poor criminals or whatever in it, and it broke that mold, and it gave film and TV the ability to explore different avenues with black characters. So I feel like that cultural impact is just way bigger in changing the landscape of everything. Also, if you want to take it down a tone, the Carlton dance has influenced everything.
I think if somebody does the Carlton dance, I'll give you several bonus points.
Doing it. Hamza, you got it. Hamza's the dancer. But yeah, that's in video games today, Fortnite, Call of Duty. Like it continues to go on. So
I mean, the cultural impact, that dance is pretty significant. Humza, what do you think the cultural impact of Friends is?
Look, as I said this at the start.
I mean, here's a cultural impact for you.
Yeah, there you go. Look, as I said, I think Seinfeld and Fresh Prince are such great choices, and there's so many things that I can say that they have. But yeah, I just want to say, like, I think Friends. For me anyway, I think that it had the most seasons, it made the most money, it's still relevant today, where Netflix still paid them, I think in 2015 30 million, and then in 2018 they apparently gave another 80 to 100 million. This is the end of 2018, so till this day it's still the top show. People are still watching it.
It seems like new generations are still discovering
exactly
it.
And I think that the longevity of Friends it's actually incredible for something to be developed in 1994. And as I said, the social impact of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Seinfeld have been huge, but Friends to this day it's still competes with all the highest shows that are out today. It's still making that kind of money today. It's still relevant to people of our generation, to a lot of people.
Well, what do you think about? Not to cut you off, but what do you think about? Because we've just been speaking about the representation aspects of things. There's not a great amount of representation in Friends.
5 black people in 10 seasons.
I remember. I think Chris Rock did a joke when he was like, "Mommy, why does nobody in Friends look like me?"
No, look, I mean, look, that's a completely different, I think, debate, and we all know that back then things are very different, and now, only now we're starting to have those conversations of, I'll be the first one to actually talk about diversity and equal opportunity, and so I agree with that, but I'm just saying culturally, what Friends have done is just completely on other scale, that till today they are still one of the top shows and are still competing with the biggest shows that they're making today. It's still breaking records today. It's made the most money. It's had the most seasons. All 6 members are.
But can I just say, the reason Seinfeld doesn't have more seasons is that they offered Jerry Seinfeld $100 million or $5 million per episode, which is much more than anyone in Friends was ever paid. And he said, nah, because he wanted the show to end on a high.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would say. Yeah. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, I think that's just the one thing that Seinfeld has.
But just to counteract that as well, I know that the last episode got a lot of backlash. A lot of people were disappointed, and even Seinfeld himself. I think I read that he said that he actually regretted doing it, and that there was a lot of pressure on the cast. So I think that.
Still had higher ratings than Friends.
I've got a question about Friends. When was it released?
I think it was 1994.
94, okay.
Yeah,
I think The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was originally aired in 1990. So if we're talking about Friends being in a different time, The Fresh Prince came out before it.
Yeah,
So
Fresh Prince was 1990 to 1996.
There you go. There's no reason for Friends to have that disparity.
And Friends was 94 to 2004.
In diversity. No, that was a choice made.
I'm not.
By them.
I'm not defending Friends in that sense. I said that's diversity. That, bro, like
no, I know. I'm just
like,
saying.
I mean,
like you
bro,
said back
got
then,
hard
it was
too,
different.
man. Apart from Big Bang Theory,
apart
apart from that one Indian guy. Yeah, 100%. That is a different debate. That's what I'm saying. But I'm just saying overall, like
I thought we was talking about Friends and the Fresh Prince.
So no, I was just saying, just in general about the diversity. But yeah, I can't obviously defend that. The cast should have been more diverse, definitely. But one thing that I would say is, Friends just overall, the impact it has now. Fresh Prince and Seinfeld does not have that same impact, that same influence, and has achieved as much as Friends, and that's just
I'll disagree.
Really. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well argued, everybody, and what an interesting little conversation we've all had about lots of different topics to do with sitcoms. It's so cool. All right. Okay. These are the final scores as I see them. I'm gonna give The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air 3 points, and I'm going to give Seinfeld 2 and Friends 1 for cultural impact. I think that the final point you just made there about the fact that The Fresh Prince did that in 1990 is not something when I just looked up, I was like, oh my, I can't believe that. I was watching that obviously in the early 2000s, and it was still on every day after school for me 10 years after it was originally released.
Still on now.
I don't know. I don't watch terrestrial television because it's 2021.
I'm streaming also.
I mean, I think that, to be fair, I think all 3 of our shows
I don't know
are
about
still on
Seinfeld.
now.
Seinfeld's not on in the UK, 100%.
It is.
So the final points as they stand are The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is the top with 12, followed by Seinfeld with 11, followed by Friends with 10. I think you've argued it very, very well, everybody. And there's no losers, really. But there is a winner because somebody's going to get an actual trophy.
I feel like the loser was Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah. I think I've really gone for it on this one. I just couldn't think of any other examples, but I just know that Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a culprit of doing that sort of writing that I don't like in sitcoms, where it's like 3 coinciding storylines that don't relate to each other. And yeah, anyway. But I think all 3 of the shows obviously have had a massive impact on so many people. And the fact that we've been able to have so many big discussions about all of them is just a testament to how much of an impact they've had on us. But let's hand over the awards to the winner, Joe Ikhinwin. Is this your first time winning, Joe?
This is my second time winning.
Second time winning. What did you win for the other time?
The Sopranos.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I'm on this US TV thing.
Yeah. So, Joe, for the second time, I'm going to present you through time and space with the Screen Test Award. Hey!
Thank you. I just want to dedicate this to Uncle Phil and my two Aunt Vivs. Thank you.
And now it's time for my favourite part of the show. I'd like you to do a theme song. Unbox the plot.
Who's doing it?
Anybody, just start.
Unbox the plot. Unbox that
I want
plot
all
right
three
now.
of you to join in.
Meow.
Boing.
Brilliant. Unbox the plot, everybody. So this is the part of the show where I have put one of my favourite sitcoms in this box using 4 clues, and you have to try and guess what it is. The earlier you guess, the more points you get. Not that it matters. But once you've committed an answer to the whiteboard in front of you, you cannot go back. So be careful. Right, let's get started, everybody. Clarisse, do you think you're going to get any better at this game at any point?
No.
What happens with this is that Clarisse forgets all things that have ever existed.
Yeah,
feel
my
like
brain
I've
just
ever won
empties.
Okay.
That happens though, innit? When you're actually there, it's hard for you to. But when you're like watching it, maybe you get it straight
Oh,
away.
yeah. You at home, don't yell at me, please.
The first clue is Barack Obama, his book. It's Barack Obama's book.
Okay.
Anyone got any ideas?
I have an idea, but
Do you have an idea
I'm
enough
not
to
ready
write it
to
down?
no.
Not going to commit. Joe, anything going on in your
Nothing.
brain? No?
Well, I almost said it, but no.
Oops, I just knocked the mic there. Sorry about that. Okay. The second clue. I'm trying to figure out now live which one is the least obvious. All right, here we go. We're going to go with this. It's a gin and tonic in a can. Oh, got a lot of blank faces. No? All right. Okay, we're going to move on to the third clue. I'll be right back.
So how's
Okay.
everyone? Everyone good? Oh, he's back. He's back.
Okay, he's back.
This is your third clue. I'm wearing it for everyone listening. I've got a cross, robes. I'm wearing.
Okay.
We're doing a sitcom,
This
right?
is a sitcom, yeah, yeah. I'm wearing robes with a cross on it. I'm not going to say the word for what I'm wearing because that will just give it away. Are we ready for?
Okay, I think
really
I'm gonna.
stupid.
Are
I've
you
got a
committing an
guess,
answer?
I think I'm really stupid.
No,
But I
these,
think
these
I
are pretty
might be
vague.
wrong.
Okay, the fourth and final clue.
Oh, I didn't realize there was a fourth one. Oh.
The fourth and final clue is a gerbil. Little gerbil. Anyone ready to guess?
Well, it's too late.
Okay, Clarisse, show me what you've got.
I don't know. I thought maybe the Vicar of Dibley.
Nope.
Oh.
Joe, anything?
I just
Is
went
it
with
the
a
other
random
one?
guess.
Go on.
And Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Always Sunny in Nope.
I just drew a butterfly in the Pakistani flag. That's all I can do, really.
So, this is Fleabag. She has a very special relationship with Barack Obama. Very special relationship. I'm using some Seinfeld language here. So, what do they say instead of masturbating?
Master of her domain.
She's a master of
But
her domain.
No, she's not the master of her domain.
She's not the
because
master of her
that
domain
scene.
because of Barack Obama. She drinks G&Ts with the hot priest, who I very much represent. And she has a little gerbil cafe.
Okay, I can tell you why I didn't get this.
Hit
Because Fleabag makes me cry so much. I don't think of it as funny. It's like it is obviously hysterical, but it's so emotionally devastating that it's not to me like sitcom.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think there's something that's happened to the sitcom language in modern day. Like I think things like Fleabag and Catastrophe as well, which is on Prime Video, are just these mix between comedy and drama, and there's like quite a lot of that exists in the modern day, and I really like that tone a lot. But none of you got it. I hope some people in the comments got it. You can watch Fleabag on Prime Video right now, along with loads of other great sitcoms, including The American Office, Teachers, and Workaholics. But what's your favourite sitcom? Give us a recommendation in the comments below, and we'll see you next week to see what films and TV shows will pass the screen test. Congratulations for winning, Joe.
Thank you very much.
You're just gonna you're not gonna make it subtle, are you?
No.
See you next time. Bye bye.
See ya.